tucks in and runs. Zach Wilson's loose. Zach Wilson's running. He's got all day. He stays in bounds. Zach Wilson catches. Zach Wilson gets in the end zone for the touchdown. Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome back to another Jets Media live stream. Man, it's been a while. I miss you guys. It's been a whole weekend. We went on a crazy live stream spree last weekend during the free agent frenzy, Monday through Friday, every single day. I took the weekend off, but I was still on the Jake Asman show on Saturday, and we're back here live on Monday to break down an interesting topic about the New York Jets wide receiver position. And that's what the main topic is going to be about, because that is the one position I think every Jets fan is a little concerned about how we're going to fill in the hole at the wide receiver position. And if you're watching this live, we just got some breaking NFL news that's not Jets related. Matt Ryan has just been traded to the Indianapolis Colts. Shout out to Eddie for breaking the news. But yeah, guys, all seriousness, Matt Ryan is now headed to the AFC. Another quarterback that the New York Jets have to worry about. Just what we needed as the New York Jets. But wow, let me know your guys' thoughts down below in the comments if you're watching this on replay or you're watching this on live, of your thoughts of Matt Ryan joining the Indianapolis Colts. First time we'll ever see him getting a new change of scenery. You never know, he could definitely get a revive of a career. We've seen quarterbacks change sceneries in their mid-30s and actually play really good football. Just because he's a little older up there in age does not mean that Matt Ryan does not have a lot of good football left in him. And the Colts are a way better team than the Atlanta Falcons were. So I will not be shocked if the Colts are a really good team next year. We will see. We will see. So, guys, welcome into the chat. What is good, Hawk? What is good, Willie, George, Darren, Eddie? Everybody's in the chat. What is good, everybody? Hope you guys are enjoying your Monday. Make sure you guys smash that like button on your way into the show. We're just getting started here on the Jets Media live stream, as there's going to be an echo. So, guys, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. We got 41 people tuning in with 11 likes. Let's run up those thumbs up button before we get into the first topic. So, the main topic of the stream, as you can tell from these photos, as you can tell from the thumbnail, as you can tell from the title, how will the Jets address the wide receiver position? Right? Because that is the one position that the New York Jets have not done anything about. We did not sign a free agent. We re-signed one of our own free agents, Braxton Berrios. We have not made a trade for a wide receiver, right? So the only thing that we've done at the wide receiver position as of right now is re-signing Braxton Berrios, which was an absolute must. We cannot say they did nothing because that was a big time re-signing by the New York Jets. But I think we can all agree that we absolutely need to make sure that the New York Jets get a number one receiver for Zach Wilson, right? And when I say that, that doesn't mean we don't already have a potential number one receiver on the roster, that being Elijah Moore. That just means I want to get another big-time target for my young quarterback, because there's nothing wrong with having multiple number one receivers. That just means you have multiple talented playmakers for Zach Wilson. And I will be lying to you guys if I don't say I am concerned. And now when I say what I'm concerned, I just mean right now, right? Because going into the draft, let me rephrase this. We can't really get concerned until we see the full plan, right, of the offseason. We've seen the free agency come and go, right? There's still a lot of veteran wide receivers available on the free agent market that I would love the New York Jets to sign that I'm kind of shocked we haven't yet. So that's something to keep an eye out for, about the New York Jets bringing in a veteran, whether that's Sammy Watkins, whether that's Marquez Valdez-Scantling, whether that is Jarvis Landry. We don't know who it's going to be. But the New York Jets are not deep at the wide receiver spot, and I think every Jets fan knows that that is the one position group that we are always banged up on. I love Elijah Moore. I love the re-signing of Braxton Berrios. I like Corey Davis next year. But outside of those top three, we have who? Denzel Mims and Jeff Smith and Tariq Black. Jamison Crowder is still a free agent. Keelan Cole is still a free agent. So that is concerning that we do not have depth on that wide receiver room. And the New York Jets need to make sure that they either go out there in the trade market and trade for a veteran wide receiver, or they prioritize the wide receiver position via the draft, whether that's at number 10, drafting a Garrett Wilson, drafting a Treylon Burks, drafting a Drake London, or waiting until 35, drafting a Christian Watson, or even trading back into the first round in the back end and maybe taking a guy in Christian Watson that they really want to make sure they grab, or another guy that falls to 35 like Jaheim Dotson. There's a lot of players obviously outside of these four in the draft that we have to keep an eye out for. Shout out to V-Man with the $2 donation. New York Jets got more a bust than Atlanta did for MVP. V-Man, I appreciate you, my man. The Indianapolis Colts, as you guys know, they just traded for Matt Ryan. They gave up a third-round pick. So which trade are you referring to, V-Man? Because the Jets have done a lot of picks, a lot of trades. Are you referring to Jamal Adams as a bust? Are you referring to Chris Herndon as a bust? Are you referring to Sam Darnold? I think you're referring to Sam Darnold. For sure. Giving up just a third-round pick for a very well above average veteran quarterback in Matt Ryan, MVP. Pretty crazy stuff right there. So we definitely want to talk about that. And I appreciate the donation, V-Man. You're always very supportive on the channel. And of course, when I start the show, my camera battery's already going to die on me. I gotta start charging these batteries a little earlier. All right, guys. So we're live here on Monday. Make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button on your way into the stream. We got 76 people tuning in with 21 likes. Don't forget to smash that thumbs up button for your boy. We're just getting started here on the Jets Media live stream. And I want to recap everything regarding the New York Jets free agency and the holes that have not been yet to be filled. And that is the wide receiver spot, right? So I want to ask you guys in the chat, how do you want the Jets to go about this wide receiver position? Me personally, what I want them to do is sign a veteran that's still available. And we pull up a tweet that I made the other day. I broke down all the veteran receivers that are still on the open market. So what I want the New York Jets to do, sign a veteran wide receiver. Here is a list of all of them that are still available. Jamison Crowder, Keelan Cole, Julio Jones, Sammy Watkins, A.J. Green, Traquan Smith, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., Will Fuller, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, T.Y. Hilton, Demarcus Robinson, and Albert Wilson. So those are all the free agents that are still available. If I'm the New York Jets, I bring in either one or even two of these veterans and go into the draft and draft one high in the NFL draft with a premier pick, whether that is the number 10 or number 35. And when I made this tweet asking everyone on Twitter, which one would you prefer the Jets bring in? I saw a lot of people say, none. I don't want any of these free agent wide receivers. Well, you have to realize we need one of these veteran free agent wide receivers. Not to be the number one guy, not to be the future of the franchise, for depth. We need depth, guys. We absolutely need depth. I want to go into the season with more depth than we had last year because if you guys remember, the last 5 weeks of the season, Corey Davis was out. Elijah Moore was out. All of our top guys were injured for Zach Wilson, so we need to make sure we prioritize the depth at this position because of the injury concerns that we have, right? That's what I need to make sure people realize because when I first bring it up, which veteran wide receiver do you want? Everyone said, we don't need any of them. Just do it in the draft. We need to do both, guys. We need to get one in the draft and we need to get one in free agency. So what's interesting is Jamison Crowder and Keelan Cole are still unsigned. Two players that are still veteran free agents that have not re-signed with the team or not re-signed with the Jets and not signed with another team. So they're still available if they want to bring back a continuity factor. And there's still other guys in the market that's veterans. Sammy Watkins is a player. A.J. Green is a veteran that's coming up for a pretty interesting season. Traquan Smith is a player that I would like to consider. Demarcus Robinson, a very speedy guy that was buried in the depth chart on Kansas City. So we need to make sure that the New York Jets acquire depth at this position because the last thing we need to do is go into the season by just drafting one receiver or even drafting two receivers and not having the proper depth, right? Corey Davis is the veteran on the squad that I love. And I'm not saying we go out there and hand out a contract like this, like a Corey Davis contract, paying like $12, $13 million per year. We get a one-year cheap deal like we did with Keelan Cole. Bring back Keelan Cole for all I care. We need to make sure that we get somebody in this roster. So now another interesting question. Should the New York Jets double dip? What if we double dipped in the draft? That is a good question. Now, what if we did that? What if the New York Jets drafted Garrett Wilson at 10? And then later on in the draft, we get a guy in Bo Melton in the 5th round or something like that, right? Then I would like that. Because if we look at the depth chart for the New York Jets at the wide receiver position, it is thin, man. It's top heavy. I like the 3 receivers that we have. Denzel Mims, we have a big question mark next to his name. I think every Jets fan knows. So that's why I wanted to go live to talk about the New York Jets potentially making a big risk here without bringing in a veteran wide receiver. Without depth, I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable with this wide receiver room right now. So in the chat, guys, let me know how you want to address the wide receiver position, and then we can get on to a new topic about what happened in the NFL just a couple of seconds ago. I'm going to put that on the screen so just people who are tuning in knows what just happened. Colts trade for Matt Ryan. Guys, we got some breaking NFL news that came out 10 or 15 minutes ago. Colts trade for Matt Ryan, so we get another playoff caliber, Super Bowl caliber, because remember, he was in the Super Bowl, quarterback in the AFC to worry about, that being Matt Ryan. So what's your thoughts about Matt Ryan going to the AFC and going to the Indianapolis Colts? It is what it is. We can only control what's in front of us. So I'm not getting too concerned about this, right? I'm not too concerned. It's big for the Colts indeed, King Blaze. This is a move where they traded away Carson Wentz, and that was a big hole for them. I mean, they are a quarterback away from being a playoff team, right? I think we can all agree the Indianapolis Colts have a really great roster. Dominant offensive line, one of the best running backs in the league in Jonathan Taylor, decent playmakers with Michael Pittman and Pascal, a really underrated defense, and they're a quarterback away from being a serious contender. And now they got Matt Ryan, man. It sucks. But hey, you can only control what you control. So the next topic I want to talk about with you guys is my favorite topic of it all, right? I'm going to put it on screen real quick so you guys can see. I'm going to bring up my Twitter. I tweeted this out yesterday. The tweet blew up, and I got a lot of things, and I want to ask you guys in the chat your expectations for this group right here. Oh, yeah, baby. Look at that offensive line. Look at these offensive line that we got. What is your expectations for the New York Jets offensive line heading into this season? We got Mekhi Becton, George Fant at the tackles, Elijah Vera Tucker, Connor McDermott, Laken Tomlinson. If you go into the comment section, Matt O'Leary says top 10 if everyone's healthy. What do I respond to Matt O'Leary? And Michael Carter going to go crazy if he's healthy as well. It's interesting because the best part about this, right? If you guys follow the AFC East Roundtable, you guys know TD Finstock. Now, look what TD Finstock responded to this tweet. TD says, the Jets complete their O-line. Even if we get Armstead, their line will be better. We better sweep them this year because if they beat us once, I'll be pissed. Oh, we're going to beat you once, TD. We're coming for the AFC East. DJ Bienemy also quote tweeted this from the NY Daily News. Best offensive line in the AFC East. Oh, what do you guys think of that about that? Now, the big question mark, or not the question mark, but the big X factor about this O-line is the health, right? And I really think that if this offensive line stays healthy, it could be top 10. And that's not me being biased. That's just looking at this 5 people. And it's crazy that Connor McGovern all of a sudden is the weak link. I'm not saying he was ever, the elite player on the O-line, but it's pretty cool that Connor McGovern will be replaced. We don't know who it's going to be probably next season. Or he gets re-signed. Maybe he has a really good season. You never know. Because McGovern and Fant are 2 pending free agents after this year. So if they both have a dominant seasons, what is Joe Douglas going to do? Are they going to re-sign them both? Or are they going to go into the draft and get a center or the tackle this season to replace them? Are they going to do it next year? Just some interesting questions that I like asking you guys. Now, the next thing I put on Twitter that I want to hear from you guys is this one right here. What are your expectations for Zach Wilson in year number 2? What are your expectations for Zach Wilson in year number 2? I think a lot has to do with this is playmakers around him, which we don't really have right now, besides Elijah Moore and all the tight ends, which I love. A lot of 12 personnel guys. So let's get into Twitter and see what people have to say about their expectations. This guy says, I need to see a big jump, not hold on to the ball, quicker decisions, better short pass accuracy, and take a bigger leadership role. I like that. 23 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 3,800 yards, 4 touchdowns, and around 200 to 300 yards on the ground. Not superstar numbers, but a big step in the right direction. Just need him seeing on the upward trajectory, and the game is slowing down for him. Now, this is a great take from Brian Newsome right here. This is my expectations for him, man. Having a big-time jump, not becoming a superstar. Obviously, we all want that, but I don't think we're all going to expect that, right? So what's your expectations for Zach Wilson in year number 2, guys? I want to hear everybody in the chat, whether you're watching it live or you're watching on replay. Let me know your thoughts about your expectations for Zach. Because it's pretty crazy that he is going to be the X factor of this entire team. And I think we all know that, right? It's not rocket science. It's not breaking news that he is going to really determine the fate of this New York Jets roster. We'll see what happens. Now let's get into the free agency recap, guys. So the New York Jets went out there, and here are all the new free agents. Now, the New York Jets, I think, did a phenomenal job in free agency for multiple reasons. Now, I know that the topic of this video is about the wide receiver room, but I think a big reason why we have not seen a wide receiver come in here is because we put a lot of money into the tight ends this free agency, right? And if we run 12 personnel, then we only need 2 wide receivers on the field at once, right? Because that personnel is 2 receivers, 2 tight ends, and a running back. I think that is a big reason for maybe the New York Jets not prioritizing the wide receiver position. They wanted to get 2 tight ends. They wanted to go into the season. And now you can tell that the Jets offense might be turning towards more of the Green Bay Packers style than the San Francisco 49ers style. If you see the 49ers offense and you see the Packers offense, the Packers run a lot of 12 personnel. 49ers do some of it, but not really that many. And I feel like LaFleur is about to open up this playbook way more than we can ever expect. Now I want to ask you guys a question in the chat. Who is your favorite free agent signing out of these people right here? Let me know your favorite free agent signing. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say in the chat. Let me know your favorite free agent signing and why. And then we're going to get into the chat and we're going to see what you guys have to say. Justice for George says, mine is Whitehead. And I want you to guys say why. Say your favorite and then put a little dash and then give me a description. Why is your favorite? Is it the impact he's going to have this season? Is it a culture fit? Is it underrated? Do you think he's going to be a star? Like, what is it? I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the chat, man. So Justice for George says, mine is Whitehead. Spider Banana also agrees, Whitehead. Owen Stevens says CJ all day. I love it. And we got another person saying CJ. Grecky X, Uzomah. Josiah says Laken Tomlinson. Jets Mess says Conklin. Now, do you know what this is telling me right now that I absolutely love? That there's not a consensus, easy answer, favorite free agent that the Jets got, right? There's not a big splash that everyone's going to say it's obvious who it is. We all have different opinions on it. That means we brought in a bunch of dogs. Frank says favorite signing is Tyler Conklin. He's great. I agree. Jason says Whitehead because of the amazing value. I agree, man. Jordan Whitehead, 2 years, $15.5 million for a guy that could be considered one of the most hardest hitting safeties in the league and is only getting better. Willie, DJ Reed. I'm happy you brought up DJ Reed because I thought he was going to be a sleeper. Whitehead brings more versatility. Agree. Spider Banana says Whitehead because he's a hard worker, hard hitter, young player, still in development. Great culture fit. I agree. Ansi says DJ Reed. Yes, sir. Pickens been balling since his freshman season. If he's the best... Oh, you're talking about George Pickens? Yeah, we're going to get into the receivers in the draft just in a little bit, so hold that thought, my man. Rob V says Whitehead. I think Whitehead might be everyone's favorite. Hawk says mine is Conklin. He's going to be a beast. I love it. Eddie says my favorite free agent signing is both tight ends. This was one of the greatest needs. Yes, Eddie. So I think we can all agree that the New York Jets' biggest hole in this offseason going into it was tight end. And I'm so happy that Joe Douglas put in a total of $14-15 million into the tight end position across two players. He saw what that position did last year, and it was a joke. Absolute joke. Laken opens up options in the draft. Good exclamation, man. And he's also the only Pro Bowler we brought in. Mine is Uzomah. Came from a team like ours in the Bengals, and he's a security blanket. Great take, man. Jets need to upgrade at center. McGovern is not the man. Was letting guys penetrate too often. I agree. I don't think McGovern really has a long-term spot on this roster, so we'll see what they do. Punk Rock Dad says Laken Tomlinson, the depth we're massing at O-line is going to prove a massive dividends for years to come. Punk Rock Dad, I love that name. But yeah, man, Laken Tomlinson, you cannot go wrong at all with Laken Tomlinson. I think he's going to be the signing that takes this offensive line to the level that we've been waiting for this O-line to be for the past decade. Since that 2009-2010 season where we went to the AFC Championship back-to-back years, us Jets fans have been waiting for an offensive line. And we bring in Joe Douglas. And Joe Douglas says we're going to prioritize that offensive line. We're going to make sure that that offensive line is back. And he couldn't do it in one season. He comes into the New York Jets, right? If you guys remember. And his first offseason, he brings in 5 brand new starters on the offensive line. He drafts Mekhi Becton. He signs Connor McDermott. He signs Greg Van Roten. He signs George Fant. And then I think Alex Lewis was his signing as well. And that was the offensive line. And then year number 2, we bring in Elijah Vera Tucker. We keep McGovern and Fant. And we sign Morgan Moses. And then we bring in LDT in the middle of the season. And then now here we are bringing in Laken Tomlinson. I mean, what Joe Douglas did with this offensive line in his first 3 seasons is astronomically different than what we are used to with these past regimes in the past decade. Love Jordan Whitehead, a.k.a. Ronnie Lott Jr. Ooh, that's high praise. Albert with the $2 donation, skipping the line. If Atlanta drafts quarterback, what does it look for 10? Yeah, so obviously that trade with Matt Ryan definitely opens up things for the New York Jets. Now the big question is, so the Atlanta Falcons have what, the 8th pick? Could the New York Jets be a team that trades back? Because that's another whole report that I want to get into in the stream, that we saw that the Jets and the Giants are interested in trading back to acquire picks next year. That's interesting, right? We're going to talk about that because I feel like a lot of Jets fans are not going to like to hear that. But if Atlanta drafts a quarterback, that is a good thing for the New York Jets because one of their guys can fall because obviously we don't need a quarterback. So if Atlanta stays at 8 and they draft a player like Malik Willis if he's there, or Kenny Pickett or whatever quarterback they love, that's a great thing because one of the edge rushers will fall, one of the wide receivers will fall, one of the players that are on the Jets board will fall. Or what if the Jets trade back with the Falcons? They trade from 4 to 8. And we acquire a pick next year. I mean, I would not be against it. And we have the 8th and 10th pick. I wouldn't be against that. I think trading back is definitely something to keep an eye out for. The 2-headed tight end monster, I think of them as one. That's true. Would I trade Zach Wilson for 3 firsts? I would not. Because then all of a sudden we don't have a quarterback. And what are we going to do? Draft a quarterback this year? Safety and tight end. And fill all the needs we needed to. And now can address secondary needs. Agreed, Ryan. Agreed. Matt Ryan to the Colts indeed, Joshua. Pretty crazy stuff, man. Another quarterback to the AFC. Willie, I'm happy you said this. DJ is underrated. Yes, he is. I think he is probably the most slept-on signing in this entire free agency class because we got a quarterback who's trending upwards. He's young, he's hungry, he's got a chip on his shoulder, he's coming off a breakout season, and if you compare his numbers to all the all-pros, he really goes toe-to-toe with them. So DJ Reed is a player that's going to be rocking number 1. I mean, look how much of a dog he looks in this edit. I mean, are you kidding me? Look at that. It's beautiful. My man DJ Reed is repping that number 1 in that stealth black, and he's here to prove everybody that he's a CB number 1, baby. Love that. Such an underrated signing, man. Such an underrated signing. So there's so much that the New York Jets we're going to be negotiating going into the draft, and I'm so excited to do that. Guys, we have around 172 people tuning in with just 46 likes. Help your boy out. While you're tuning in, just hit that thumbs up button for your boy. Let's get to 100 likes. Helps out the channel a lot so we get as many Jets fans in here and as many NFL fans in here to talk about the New York Jets and talk about the NFL. So smash that thumbs up button if you do not already. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new. We already have almost halfway to 11K subscribers, which is pretty crazy. You guys are awesome. All the support is great. We had a marathon live streams last week. We went live for 6 hours on Monday, live for 6 hours on Tuesday. I think we went 4 hours Wednesday, and I toned it down to 2 hours and then 2 hours. We went 5 days straight, the free agent marathon. You guys were sick. What up, Kaden? Welcome to the stream, my man. So I feel like the New York Jets have a very, very interesting situation ahead of them, right? We still got a lot of cap space to work with. Now, my big question is Joe Douglas holding on to this draft cap space for flexibility in the middle of the season, or is he waiting to make a big splash right now? Another big thing about Joe Douglas, right, and the New York Jets is we heard all these rumors, all these speculations that the New York Jets and Joe Douglas are ready to strike a big-time trade. Is that going to happen before the draft or on draft night? Because we've seen Joe Douglas make trades, phenomenal trades, to say the least, of trading away our own players for amazing draft capital. And I think we can all agree that Joe Douglas has done a phenomenal job. But what we have not seen him do yet, which is not a problem, but I want to see him do it this season, is trade for a player, a proven player. That's going to be a big-time impact for this franchise, whether that being a veteran wide receiver, whether that being a defensive lineman, whether that being a linebacker, whether that being anybody. Let's see Joe Douglas make a big-time trade, baby. I think Jets fans are ready for it. And if we talk about the wide receiver position real quick, I know that a lot of Jets fans wanted Robert Woods. And they're pissed off. Why is Joe Douglas not sending the LA Rams a 6th-round pick for Robert Woods? And we find out that it was the age and the ACL that was concerning with them. And they want young pieces to develop with Zach Wilson. Now, that tells me that the New York Jets are prioritizing the wide receiver room for youth, right? We got Elijah Moore. That's going to be the star receiver for this franchise for the next decade, as we hope. We have Corey Davis as the veteran and the captain. We have Braxton Berrios, who's young and has chemistry with Zach. And now we're going into the draft with so much ammunition to get a big-time receiver. Now, who's that receiver going to be? That's the next topic of conversation. How are we getting a wide receiver in the draft, everybody? Oh, is it Drake London? Is it Treylon Burks? Is it Garrett Wilson? Is it Christian Watson? Who's it going to be? Are the Jets drafting one at 10? Are they going to trade back and then draft a guy in Chris Olave? Draft a guy in Dotson? Or are they going to wait till 35 or 38 to see who falls over there? And a guy in John Mechie? And a guy in Pickens? And a guy that falls? You know, I think it is obvious that the New York Jets are waiting for the NFL draft to get their big receiver in this free agency, right? Who do you guys prefer? Jets forever is Treylon Burks or bust. I agree with you, my man. Well, not bust, but I do love Treylon Burks. He's my number one receiver in this draft. Kaden Smith wants London or Wilson at 10. Trade back and get Chris Olave. Interesting, man. I just said that. I definitely see that's possible. Rob says Treylon, best wide receiver in draft. Rob, I might have to agree with you. And so does New York Jets, Florida. I'm assuming FL means Florida. I watch a lot of film. He wants Burks. I see a lot of Burks guys in the chat. That makes me happy because I'm a Burks guy myself. Not saying I would not like Garrett Wilson or I would not like Christian Watson at 35. But if I had to pick who I want the best for the fit, it's Treylon Burks. Owen says, draft 2 guys, Wilson or Burks, and then Justin Ross or Alec Pierce later in the draft. So that is a very interesting thing, right? If the Jets do not sign a veteran free agent receiver that is still available, I think that they have to double dip in the draft at wide receiver. Because the depth right now is a joke. It's an absolute joke. I love Elijah Moore. I love Braxton Berrios. I like Corey Davis. Outside of those three, we have Denzel Mims, who we all know what happened with him. He did not take advantage of his opportunity at all, so we do not know what to expect with him. Wild card. And then we have Tariq Black, Jeff Smith, guys like that, right? They shouldn't even be on the damn starting roster. They should be practice squad guys. I think in a perfect world, the New York Jets sign a veteran like a Sammy Watkins or a Marquez Valdez-Scantling or DeMarcus Robinson or re-sign Keelan Cole, and then they draft a Treylon Burks, they draft a Garrett Wilson, they draft a Christian Watson, and then we go into this season with our top 4 guys being a rookie in the top of the draft, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios, one of the guys we signed, that being, for example, Sammy Watkins or DeMarcus Robinson, or one of those guys is the 5. And then at the 6, we have guys like Denzel Mims, and then maybe we draft another receiver later on in the 5th round, like a Bo Melton that could be even there. I just feel like the wide receiver position needs to be the deepest on the roster, because how many times have we watched the New York Jets wide receivers get hurt at the end of the season? Zach Wilson was throwing to Keelan Cole and Tariq Black in the final game of the season. And he actually didn't play that bad against one of the best defenses in the league at the time in a hostile environment in Buffalo. That's why I wanted to go live about this conversation. Now, the big-time name free agent wide receiver, I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the chat. Right? I think we all know who the biggest name is on the open market is this man right here. Would you want the New York Jets to take a flyer on Julio Jones, bring him in on a cheap contract for a 1-year deal? Is it worth the risk? He's coming off the season with the Tennessee Titans, and man, did I have him in fantasy, and did he disappoint me? I want to hear your thoughts in the chat. Would you be interested in Julio Jones? Me personally, my answer is no. Let's hear your answer. I see a bunch of people agreeing with myself saying no. All right, so Julio Jones is definitely a no from all the Jets fans. Okay, everyone's saying no, no, no. Do you guys agree with me? I thought we were about to get into arguments. Like, no, guys, we don't need him. Now, who's another guy we should consider? Would you consider this guy? Would you consider bringing him in? Let me know in the chat. Yes or no? Would you bring in Sammy Watkins on a cheap contract? Take a flyer on the man. Let me know. Yes. No. No. Maybe. Yes. No. 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 Yes. I love reading the chat. You guys are awesome. No. Maybe. Remember, guys, we're not signing Sammy Watkins to be the guy for the future. This is a depth signing. This is the Keelan Cole role. So I see some people are opening up to the idea of Sammy more than it was Julio Jones. My answer to Sammy Watkins is yes. He's a 29-year-old that is going to be a player that comes in and provides depth on this roster and can make plays, right? We're not asking him to be the number one guy. We're not asking him to do too much. We need a player in here that can help out Zach Wilson for depth purposes. Now, I see some people in the chat asking me, we got to bring up this man. And I think everyone's answer is going to be the same. DK Metcalf. Now, my problem with DK Metcalf is I don't think he's even on the trade block. I don't think the Seattle Seahawks are going to want to trade him away. Hell, I could be absolutely wrong. But my problem with DK is it's very unrealistic. He's not a free agent. Maybe we wait till next year to sign him in free agency because he's a free agent next year. DK Metcalf, I know I talked about him a lot on my channel. Very unlikely it's going to happen. Would I absolutely want DK Metcalf on the Jets? Hell yeah, I do. I 100% want DK Metcalf on the Jets, but like I said, guys, probably not happening. Guys, I see we got a lot of new people tuning into the chat. Over 200 people. Help me out. Get to 100 likes. 87 likes. Smash that thumbs up button if you did not already. I greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. We're talking some wide receivers right now. We're talking some wide receivers of who the New York Jets could bring in via the draft, via free agency, via the trade market. Because the New York Jets did not make any move at this position outside of re-signing Braxton Berrios. So we know that they're going to be doing something. It's just a matter of who. So now let's get into, I want to show you my screen real quick. Because let's go look at all the free agent wide receivers available. And I want to hear your thoughts. All right. So if we go into Spock Track with all these ads in my face. So here are all the receivers that got contracts. We got Christian Kirk as the highest paid receiver out of this free agency class. Pretty insane, guys. Allen Robinson, Russell Gage. I really wanted Russell Gage, but he kind of got a big contract that I did not expect. And Tom Brady also recruited him. So here's all the players that already got signed. Let's see who's still available, right? We got Julio Jones, who we already talked about. Jarvis Landry, do not expect him to be interested in the Jets. Will Fuller, a little too injury prone for my liking. Jamison Crowder. If there's not another player out there that wants to come to the Jets, if we could bring back Crowder on a cheap deal, I would not be totally against it. He's been nothing but reliable. T.Y. Hilton, probably stay away from. Cole Beasley, I'd stay away from. Emmanuel Sanders, no. A little too old for me. A.J. Green, maybe. He wasn't that bad for the Cardinals last year. Keelan Cole, he's a player that, you bring back for continuity reasons. Sammy Watkins. Now, he's a player that I would definitely want to bring in. Zach Pascal, I'd be interested in him as well. 27 years old. I'd bring back Pascal. Bring him in. Albert Wilson, a speedy guy. I feel like he'd fit into this roster. Deshaun Jackson, I would stay away from. Danny Amendola, no thank you. Odell Beckham Jr., yes, if he did not tear his ACL, but unfortunately for him, he did in the Super Bowl, so I'd stay away from him. Marquise Goodwin, interesting player. I would probably stay away from. Adam Humphries, interesting candidate there, but we already got our Adam Humphries. That's Braxton Berrios. Mohamed Sanu. Demarcus Robinson is a player I'd definitely consider. I think he is an underrated piece for Kansas City. Every time I always put money on someone else to get a touchdown for the Chiefs, it'd always be him to get it. So I'd consider him on a cheap contract. Bird, not really. D.D. Westbrook, now we're getting into the, the lower end people, right? Traquan Smith is a player I'd absolutely love the New York Jets to bring in. 26 years old, still has upside. A player that I feel like would fit into the scheme. Bring in Traquan Smith. Marquez Valdez-Scantling is another player I'd love to bring in. 27 years old. Bring him in. So those are all the veteran wide receiver free agents still available on the market. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts about who you would want to bring in and who wouldn't you want. Because the New York Jets are not done in free agency. So let's see the chat, what you guys are saying. The NY Bully would take MBS, me as well. Jamil wants Will Fuller. He's interesting. He's a great player, but very injury riddled, right? Bring back Keelan Cole, good locker room guy and good depth. Trade back from 10 and take Wilson, London Burks in the late 10s to mid 20s. Yeah, I think this is exactly what I would like to do. Sign a veteran free agent that's available, like a Keelan Cole or maybe a Traquan Smith or a Sammy Watkins, and then draft one of the top receivers in the NFL draft. Because I think if we can say free agency did something, free agency told us Jets fans where the New York Jets are going in the draft, they're getting a receiver early. Because if they don't, then we're kind of screwed, and I don't expect him to not do that because Joe Douglas really always talked about how important it is to surround your young quarterback with weapons. And we can't say he did not do that this offseason yet because we got two legit tight ends. We cannot forget about that, right? We cannot forget about the two big-time free agent target wide receiver, free agent tight ends that we got in Tyler Conklin and CJ Uzomah. Because that's legit. Those are two legit tight ends, man. Two legit tight ends. And we cannot forget about that. I feel like that is a big-time, underrated thing for the New York Jets in the offseason, man. So there's a lot of people on Twitter negotiating. And I'm really excited to see what the Jets are going to do, right? So now let's open this up to a Jets Q&A. You guys can ask me anything you would like. Anything you'd like regarding the New York Jets. Remember, any super chats, you get to a guarantee of me answering your question. The super chats are greatly appreciated. So if you guys want to ask me any questions in the chat, whether that's a wide receiver position, whether it's anything regarding the New York Jets in free agency, whether it's a draft, whether it's a trade market, my thoughts about anything regarding the Jets or anything about life, I'm here to answer your questions, baby. So we're going to officially open up to a Jets Q&A. Remember, super chats come first. You get to skip the line of all the questions that come in. And let's get it going. Let's get it going. Open this up to a Jets Q&A. Smash that thumbs up button on your way in. Alrighty. First question, besides Metcalf, who can we trade for as far as a wide receiver? So, Robert Woods was a player that I would definitely keep an eye out for, but as we know, he's already traded. I don't see a player that's on the trade market right now at the wide receiver spot. I feel like all the receivers that were going to get traded got either released, like Julio Jones, or they already got traded, like Robert Woods and Amari Cooper. So it's a great question because you never know what can happen. There's guys out there that might be disgruntled. Joe Douglas might be able to swing a little pick for a player, but I'd be lying to you if I knew exactly who the Jets are going to be targeting. Any chance the Jets sign Packers wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling? I definitely think it's possible. I would absolutely love this signing if the Jets got this done because he is a player that is, has a deep threat. He's a veteran. He's played in the same system, and he's a free agent, and he's 27. Yeah, George brings up a good point. Brandon Cooks could be on the trade market for sure. Hey, Richie, do you remember Dowell Loggins? No, I don't know who that is. Never heard of him. Never heard of Dowell Loggins. I don't know what you're talking about. Red zone help. I'm down for that. I got a feeling Chris Olave is going to fall right into the Jets' lap. Do you think JD will pull the trigger on in the second round? So you feel like, I mean, hey, Elijah Moore fell to the Jets in the second round. So you never know what type of player can fall. Listen, if Chris Olave is there at 35 and the Jets did not take receiver at 10 yet, I'm all for it. Hey, we got a nice donation from a great member of the channel, John. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate the $5 donation. Everyone give a dono hype in the chat for John. Love the channel. Appreciate you, John. What can we expect from Lawson and Becton this season? Excellent question. Excellent question. Now, this is interesting, right? Because these two players, and I tweeted this out, we have to consider these two players as free agent acquisitions this season. Or, draft picks or free agent acquisitions. Because they did not play last year. We saw Mekhi Becton for 2 quarters. And we saw Carl Lawson dominate training camp and not suit up for a game. And these two players last year were looked at as the cornerstone of the trenches on both sides of the ball. Mekhi Becton was the blue chip player on the offensive line. Carl Lawson, the blue chip player on the defensive line. And they both went down and did not play a snap outside of Mekhi Becton's first 2 quarters. So, John, hypothetically speaking, if they're both healthy, I'm expecting, it's really hard to put expectations on a player who's coming off an Achilles injury. I do not know what type of player Carl Lawson's going to be. I cannot expect him to be a guy to be on the market. A guy to go out there and dominate right away. I don't think he's going to have, 15 plus sacks. I'm not going to say he's going to do that. But I do expect Carl Lawson to come back with vengeance and get to the quarterback with ease at some points, right? And Mekhi Becton, I got a lot of high expectations for him. That's my guy, big ticket. Got his jersey right there. He's out to prove the doubters wrong. I do not understand all these trolls on Twitter that are just attacking our own player. I don't like it. I don't like that the New York Jets fans are attacking our own players on Twitter. Just doesn't sit with me right. You root for your guy. You don't talk crap on your guy, right? Unless he did something like Jamal Adams where he just, turned on us. So I'm expecting both of these players to have bounce-back seasons, man. I think they're going to be really great if they stay healthy, right? If they stay healthy. So some wide receivers that are available in the trade market, I saw you guys talk about in the chat. Adam Thielen is a guy that some people keep bringing up. Brandon Cooks is a player that people keep bringing up. Michael Thomas. It's really hard to say that those guys would be available because, you never know what Joe Douglas is trying to do. You never know who's calling. He keeps things in-house. He said he's going to make a big trade this year. We haven't seen it yet. Remember last year he traded Sam Darnold away like a couple weeks before the draft. So we never know the type of moves that are going to be happening before the draft. So keep an eye out, right? What up, Alpha? Welcome to the stream, my man. Do you think Joe Douglas trades out of 4 or deals Mims before the draft? We saw what he got for Blitz Boy. I don't think he's going to trade Denzel Mims yet. I think they're going to go into training camp with Denzel because we have a lot of, holes on that wide receiver room in terms of depth. I think it would be, I think you got to give Denzel Mims another opportunity, his last shot in training camp, because unfortunately for him, he did not have a lot of luck in training camp the past 2 years. So I do think it's possible that Joe Douglas does trade out of 4 for a team that wants to get a quarterback, like the Atlanta Falcons. Maybe they trade up to the 4th pick and we move back to 8 and we acquire a first rounder next year. Or we move back. I don't know if he's going to do it on like before the draft, but you never know. Remember what the New York Jets did like 3 or 4 years ago when we drafted Sam Darnold? We traded up from 6 to 3 weeks before the draft to make sure that we were there in good position to draft a quarterback. So a team like the Falcons, a team like the Seahawks, a team like, a quarterback needy team I feel like the Jets are not really at a good quarterback position spot, right? I feel like if a team wants to move up for a quarterback, they'd rather go in the top 3, just in case. So we'll see, man. Great point about Highway 77. The Twitter trolls need to chill. He shows sign of being a Pro Bowler in the league. Can't wait to see him after his rehab. Yeah, I agree, man. I just don't like what are you doing on Twitter? Just attacking your own player. Like if you're an actual New York Jets fan, what the hell are you doing on Twitter talking crap to your own player who's done nothing but great things for this franchise besides, having a bad injury in year number 2? That wasn't really his fault. He didn't show up out of shape. He didn't do anything bad. He had a dominant rookie season, and he goes into year number 2, and Greg Van Roten gets blown up, and he gets thrown into Mekhi Becton's knee, and unfortunately for him, he's out for the year. And now we have people on Twitter attacking their own player. Come on. I hate that. Absolutely hate that. Every time I see Mekhi and Jets fans going after each other on Twitter, I'm like, yo, are you a Dolphins fan? Like a Bills fan just trying to get to Mekhi? Or are you a Jets fan? Root for your players. Unless he does something like Jamal Adams where he just, turns on the entire franchise, and I don't understand it. Thoughts on Matt Ryan trade? Yeah, I talked about this early in the stream when it happened. Another AFC quarterback coming into the conference. So it's a player that we definitely. The Colts are a playoff team. I think they're a playoff team on paper. Matt Ryan makes them way better. They're outside of Matt Ryan. They have one of the best running backs in football, if not the best. They have a very above average defense. They got a great offensive line. I think they're going to be a good team. I agree 100%. Fans are going to make it really hard to keep Becton long term. Facts, man. Like I love our fan base. I love how passionate we are, but sometimes it gets too toxic, bro. It really does. You gotta just let these players work. Just because he's not posting workout videos doesn't mean they're not working out. What happened with Thibodeau that no one wants him now? Good question, because the only thing that people are scared about with Thibodeau is his character concerns. And that is something you have to consider, right? Just because you're physically gifted does not mean you're guaranteed to be a star in the league. And that is a big component to what the New York Jets are trying to build here is culture, character, high character guys. And if the Jets do all their research and they come away with Kayvon Thibodeau as a player that's a me guy, not saying this is the fact, but I'm saying if they come away with Kayvon Thibodeau of a guy that really doesn't have a passion for the game, he's in it for the money, he's in it for the fame, he's in it for what football brings him instead of the passion and the love, then I wouldn't be shocked if the Jets pass on him. Now, I'm not saying that's guaranteed about Kayvon Thibodeau, but the character concerns is a real thing because people need to realize, even though if you look at a college tape and it just jumps off the table, physical talent's there, athleticism is there, bend is there, pass rushing ability is there. What matters up here is way more important than your physical abilities, because if you're not all there mentally and you're not putting all your effort into these games and you're not putting all your effort into rehab and film study and the passion, you're not going to get better and better. If you're physically gifted and you're just a player that does whatever you want, you're not going to be successful in the league long term. Now, we have to make sure that the Jets do their homework, and I think they will. Is it safe to say the culture has finally changed? Now, I can't say with a straight face the culture has changed, right, until we start winning football games, Eric, personally. But at the same time, it definitely feels like the culture is shifting, right? There's no way that we can establish the culture change, I think, until we start winning football games. And then we're finally looked at as a Jets team around the NFL as a franchise that's trending upwards. Because I think it'll be a little too premature for us to say the culture has changed right now. We haven't won anything, right? We've won a bunch of off seasons, and we all know how that went. I think that the culture is shifting in the right direction. We have a front office that finally knows what they're doing. We have a GM that is not going to overpay players. We have a GM that has his own price that he's going to pay. He's not going to overpay players to come to the Jets. He's going to build his team through the draft, and he's going to bring in high character culture guys. And that is what I always wanted. So, Eric, to answer your question, I think the culture is changing. I think this season is where we really can answer that question, is if it's changed or not. Because the culture hasn't officially changed until we start winning some football games. And then NFL fans around the league are saying, wow, the Jets are not the same old Jets anymore. Right? I think that's what it is. That's what it comes down to for me, everybody. Would you agree? What's your guys' thoughts of Eric's take? Do you think the culture has changed yet? Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. Let me know your thoughts in the chat. Do you feel like the culture has changed yet? All right. So let's see what the chat's got to say. Exactly, Richie. The culture isn't changed until we win games, period. Everything else is fluff. Facts, man. I mean, I do sense the culture changing. I see the type of players they're bringing in. CJ Uzomah is a perfect example of a culture guy, a guy that is coming from an organization that came from the dirt, going to the Super Bowl, big locker room presence. The guys, the entire draft class last year is just high character individuals like Elijah Moore, Elijah Vera Tucker, Zach Wilson, even Michael Carter, the running back. All those guys are high character players. And that's what starts the culture change, is bringing in high character individuals. So it is, you cannot say the culture has changed until we start winning some ball games. Will you have in the future on your channel call-in segments? Yeah, Josh, I've had that a bunch of times. I've had segments when people come in and they ask me some questions. And I'm definitely going to be doing that soon. Daniel says, it's changing. It's a process. Even though success we have remained changed and stay focused. Yes, Daniel, facts. Only thing Jets fans that we can hope for is that it is changing. I say the culture in the front office has changed. Eventually, that will make its way to the locker room and the win and loss total. Facts, JC. Really good way to put it. The culture has changed in the front office and the coaching staff. And I feel like the word culture is a very interesting term that some people don't understand when it comes to sports. And what a culture is, right? It's a way you do things. It's a way you establish a way of doing everything when it comes to football. When you're a player, when you're a coach, when you're a front office, you wake up every morning and you know what you have to do. And this is the Jets way, right? We need to establish the Jets way. Whatever that is, right? The all gas, no break mantra is what Robert Saleh likes. That's the culture they're trying to establish here. That when you wake up, you go to sleep better than when you woke up that morning, meaning you put all your effort in every single day and you get better each and every day. So the mindset of the front office has changed. The mindset of the coaching staff has changed. Now, we'll see if it really trickles down to the players. What do you think we gamble on Jameson Williams, maybe in the second or third round? I don't think Jameson Williams will get into the second or third round. I think he still is going to be a first-round pick because he's way too talented. And if his medical really checks out and they think that he's going to be, recovering on time, if he falls to the second round and he's there at 35 or 38, I'd take a flyer on him. Good culture is the highest paid players are the hardest working players, excuse me. Interesting. A lot of emphasis on free agency and the draft this year. But what about expectations on Zach Wilson this year? And do you think we will be a playoff team this year if everyone can stay healthy? What up, Logan? Earlier in the stream, I actually went over Zach Wilson and I talked about our expectations for him in year number 2. So that is a very interesting topic, right? A lot of emphasis right now is the offseason because we're acquiring new players. We're getting new players in free agency. We're getting new players in the draft. So that's the topic, right? But it's all about the quarterback. Every single move that Joe Douglas makes is about building around Zach, even on the defensive side of the ball. So, I think the expectations for Zach Wilson needs to be improving from year 1 to year 2 in every single statistical category. He needs to protect the football. He needs to get more touchdowns, right? But most importantly, look like you're treading in the right direction. Look like you know how to take care of the football. Look how to process things quickly. That's really what it comes down to for me. Now, this is interesting, Sean. Any concern over John Benton getting a DUI? Do they keep him? This is very unfortunate stuff, right? I think a lot has to get sorted out. They need to figure out what happened. Not a good look at all. It would be very unfortunate if we had to move on from Benton. He's a big-time piece to this coaching staff. Now, this is the culture you're trying to avoid, is someone being stupid enough to drive drunk. I mean, come on, man. You're an NFL coach. Call an Uber. Is that hard? Is it that hard to call an Uber, Benton? Because what Benton did last year was phenomenal. And a big reason why Laken Tomlinson even came to the Jets is because of Benton. Because he was his coach at San Francisco. So I really hope that our offensive line coach, John Benton, it all gets sorted out and he gets a second chance. Personally, because he's one of the best assistant coaches on this team. Really unfortunate that it happened. No one has ever said they would want to play for Adam Gase. Yes, the culture has changed. James, great take right here. We watched, if you guys saw all the interviews from the new Jets free agents, we saw a lot of players coming in saying why they came here. Jordan Whitehead said, I came here because of Robert Saleh. I came here because of Robert Saleh. I came here because of Joe Douglas. I came here because of what they have in store. That's music to our ears. We never really had free agents come here because of our head coach. Did you like David Ojabo before his injury? I did like him. Now, that really stinks for him, man. Just him as a person. The last thing you need is to get that type of injury during your pro day. Oh, you just feel for him, man. You really do. The culture will change after the Jets build an identity for themselves and start seeing games like Jets against the Bucs. You saw fire and drive. And that's awesome that you say that, my man, because Jordan Whitehead brought this up. Jordan Whitehead said, we versed the Jets at the end of the season last year. And he saw a team trending in the right direction. They were fighting. They were biting at the nail. They were a team that was fighting for a victory, even without a lot of players in that game. We did not have Corey Davis or Elijah Moore. Zach Wilson had his best game of the season. Not statistically, but the type of throws he was making in the pocket were awesome. That game against the Bucs shows you that, what culture means and what great coaching does is even when you're not the most talented team on paper, you have guys fighting. You have guys winning their matchups in the trenches, winning their matchups outside. Let's hope that happens. Do you think the Jets will draft Drake London? I don't know if they will. I think they'll definitely be considering it because wide receiver right now is a big hole that needs to be filled. Whether that is via free agency or the NFL draft, we will see. Free agency is kind of over. But there's still a lot of free agent wide receivers available. I think the New York Jets it'll be a mistake to not draft one of Drake London, Chris Olave, Treylon Burks, Garrett Wilson, Watson, or even Pickens. When are people going to open their stupid eyes to the fact that Drake London is by far the best wide receiver? I don't know. What do you guys think? Is Drake London the best receiver in the draft? According to Drew Pacabra, 7, he is. Do you think JD will trade back during this draft? Do you know what picks we will have in 2023? I do expect him to trade back. 100%. I also expect him to trade up in the draft. I think he's going to be moving all over the place. We have so much capital where it'll be stupid to not move up and down. And I'm expecting him to do that. Our draft picks next year, we don't have any double firsts or double seconds or even double thirds. We just kind of have our own picks next year, plus a 6 that we got from Blake Cashman. Polarizing drafts amongst Jets fans happen every single year. Do you think adding a wide receiver at pick 10 will help the Jets win more games and help keep the culture changing upwards? I think that drafting a wide receiver at number 10 means that the New York Jets front office is prioritizing weapons around young quarterback and you're getting a blue chip guy like a Garrett Wilson or a Drake London or a Treylon Burks. Drake London is that dude. So many wide receivers in this draft, but he's the best. Imagine how much more he would have dominated on a better college team with a better quarterback. And imagine he stayed healthy. You know, you look at his stats last year, it's off the charts, and he wasn't even healthy all season. None of these wide receivers worthy of 10, says Sal C. Interesting take there, Sal. Do you guys agree with this? Maybe we trade back and take one. Or maybe we wait until 35 to take one. We took a receiver last year at 34 and Elijah Moore, who could be our number one receiver. The Jets need to draft Linderbaum and another offensive lineman to protect the young quarterback with the 2 of the first 4 picks. They could draft a wide receiver in the second. I love Tyler Linderbaum. I think the only way we take him is if we trade back from 10. I know most Jets fans do not want to touch Linderbaum because they just don't want him. I personally would love it. I think if Linderbaum's on this offensive line with everybody else already on there, this O-line is absolutely top 5. Top 5. Yes, I said it. George says Chris Olave, best route runner in the draft. Do you think he's better than Wilson? Interesting. They got Elijah Moore, and they need 2 more explosive wide receivers to give Zach weapons. Elijah Moore has wide receiver 1 written all over him in my eyes, but we still cannot ignore the fact that we need another wide receiver 1 next to him. We have Corey Davis, who had some issues last year, but earlier in the season he did a great job with Zach. So I really hope that he, takes that next step. And I agree. We need 2 more explosive wide receivers. Pickens, best overall wide receiver. Yeah, I think George Pickens is a very underrated, underappreciated receiver in this draft class. Daniel, I agree. Before his injury, he was clear number 1. I agree. You take the receiver you need because that's a critical need right now. Can't say 10 is too high because that's the need for this draft. Yeah, I mean, it really depends on how the board shakes out of who's available at 10 and also, who we taking at 4. If we do not take an edge at 4, I think we might have to take an edge at 10. That's the thing. It'd be a shock if we don't take an edge at 4. I think it's kind of like locked in. We're taking edge at 4, me personally. But don't be surprised if the Jets take a wide receiver at either 10 or 35. Do you think Braxton Berrios has peaked, or do you think he can still improve and become a legit weapon? I don't think he peaked. I think that Jets fans need to realize that he might have a big-time role on this team this year. And that's not a bad thing. People say that's a bad thing. No, it's not. Braxton Berrios is a perfect gadget weapon for the Mike LaFleur offense. He's very versatile. He's a player that is so reliable, catches the ball, creates separation. He's shifty. It's not a bad thing if Braxton Berrios is involved in this offense more. And I think that his best seasons is yet to come. This does not mean we're going to not draft a big receiver. It does not mean we're going to add more talent to the receiver room. It just means that Braxton Berrios is going to be a big-time piece of this team. That's a good thing. He should because of the chemistry he has with Zach Wilson. Exactly, Amari. That's what I'm talking about. He's a Wes Welker Edelman type man. Exactly. Like, people keep putting Braxton Berrios in this special teams role. That's the only thing he can do. And he's a depth guy, only coming in if we have injuries. Not the case. Why can't Braxton Berrios become our household Julian Edelman, our household Wes Welker that's sitting in the slot? I'm okay with Braxton Berrios being the slot receiver this year. Kick Elijah Moore outside. Have Corey Davis outside. Draft Treylon Burks. Draft Garrett Wilson. And then have Braxton Berrios on the slot. Braxton Berrios could be a legit player in this league. That people around the league are like, wow, people are drafting him in fantasy because he's getting 4 or 5 receptions a game in PPR. Expectations for OC and DC with new roster personnel. Also, what are we doing at linebacker? Mosley Williams. I think, obviously, Ulbrich is the one that needs to, get a little better. We were last in the league last year. Whether that's because of personnel or him as a coach, we don't know. We'll find out this year for sure. I think LaFleur is going to have a phenomenal season because now we're giving him 2 tight ends to actually be able to run 2 tight end sets with that 12 personnel. And at linebacker, I think Mosley and Williams will be the 2 starting linebackers come week 1. I think that is a fact. I do expect us to draft the linebacker to develop as well. Berrios covers more than 2 holes on this team. Hell yeah, he does. Berrios is our Hunter Renfrow if we let him. He's so much more talented than fans think. Yes, Shane. That's why, like I said on my Twitter once, like, don't be surprised if Braxton gets a big-time role in this offense. And some people are like, no, that's a bad thing, Richie. We want to go bigger. We want to get better players than him. But I don't think we're realizing how talented Braxton really is. There's a reason why they brought him back. They got a vision for the man. They got a vision for Braxton. Let him thrive. Don't bury him in the depth chart and not give him a chance. Every single time Braxton Berrios' name was called, because of injury to another player like Jamison Crowder or anybody else, he played such great football out there, putting up numbers. I'll never forget, even last year or the year prior, every game Jamison Crowder was injured, Braxton Berrios was the starting slot for that game, and he easily had 6 receptions, 60 yards, and a touchdown. And it got to the point where I was like, I got to start starting Braxton Berrios in fantasy every time Crowder gets hurt. And now we're giving him a chance to be the Jamison Crowder this season. And no, we're not saying he's guaranteed being an elite player. I think that Jets fans didn't realize he has a potential to be. Look at Zach Wilson highlight tape. His best plays are there. 3 years with awful quarterback, consistently made catches. Yeah, Shane, facts. Can we talk about how the Patriots has Braxton on the practice squad? Bill saw something in him, probably similar to Edelman and Wes Walker. Yeah, I don't know if you guys know this story about Braxton Berrios, but I have to just break it down for you really quick. Braxton Berrios was drafted by New England, and he unfortunately had a hamstring injury his rookie season heading into roster cuts of preseason. Bill Belichick had to make the decision to cut him, and his goal was to sign him to the practice squad after he clears waivers. But Joe Douglas was not allowing him to get through waivers. Joe Douglas claimed the man. Joe Douglas brought him into the Jets. Bill Belichick was upset. Bill Belichick calls Adam Gase at the time and says, damn it, you guys got a special one of Braxton Berrios. I wanted him back on the practice squad. Good luck with him. If there's one organization that knows what to do with players like Braxton Berrios, it's the New England Patriots. Why can't we develop our own Wes Welker? Why can't we develop our own Edelman? Why can't we do that? We can. I'm from Miami. I watched him in college. He was always a consistent player. Yeah, he was awesome in Miami. Let's see. How do we feel about taking Neal at 4? Not a big fan of this, my man. Not a big fan. I don't know about you guys, but where are we drafting an offensive lineman? I would not be shocked if the New York Jets draft an offensive lineman later in the draft as a swing tackle for next year. I think that's definitely something to consider. For sure. I don't think we're going to draft one in the first round. I know Kwanu and Neal is players that people throwing around. I would not be shocked if we draft a tackle, either one that in the second round that falls to us or in the third or fourth round to be our swing tackle. Maybe it could be our starting tackle next year. Never the most talented player, but stayed on the field similar to Slade for Bama. Braxton just quicker. Facts, man. I agree. if have to get Sauce at 4, do it. I'll be damned if we let him go anywhere else. Yeah, man, I don't know if we're going to be getting Sauce Gardner. I would absolutely love Sauce Gardner. I don't know if we're going to do it, man. If we do get him, all of a sudden, our secondary goes from below average to basically scary, potentially good. Scary, potentially good. All right, guys, so we're going to wrap up the stream here. If you guys want to ask away any questions, let me know before we finish off the stream. I appreciate everybody tuning in. It was a great stream today, talking about what the Jets are going to do at the wide receiver position and recap basically free agency. We're going to be live again tomorrow. Stay tuned for more Jets content, of course. And I'm excited, man, for the future of this channel and, of course, the Jets. Any chance Sauce is there at 10? You never know. Sauce could fall there. With the Falcons potentially drafting quarterback, Seahawks potentially going quarterback. You never know. The Giants might take him, though. There's a chance he falls to 10, but at the same time, there's not. You feel me? Sauce at 4, Joseph at 69 would make our secondary complete. True. I think we go blue chippers in first, Sauce, Edge in first, maybe Hamilton at 10. I think we could go George Pickens, Christian Watson's, both being available at 35. Yeah, I think that's also in agreement. Jets, baby, thank you for your great content. Thank you for tuning into the content, man. I appreciate you. Without you tuning in, none of this is possible. Without all the donations, without all the help on the channel, none of this is possible. So, guys, I'm going to recap, finish off the stream here. Do you feel like the Jets will be trading up? Absolutely. I think the Jets will be trading up and trading down. Guys, I appreciate all the love on the channel. It means a lot. Stay tuned for more Jets content. I'll be live again tomorrow. And I love you guys, and let's go Jets. Peace out. Smash that like button if you did not already. And I'll catch you guys in my next stream. Let's go Jets.